Okay, now you are.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live again with more breaking news from insane days of breaking news, an insane week of breaking news. Let me wait for more people to trickle in here. Let me, since this is an unexpected live stream. Hold on. Isn't clear. Just image Trump and FBI. Smash that like button, share this live stream so we can get it out to more people. I didn't think I'd be coming live again today, but the news doesn't stop. And yeah, right wing extremism, outlandish media that hyperventilates and calls, you know, executing a search warrant tyranny, and the right wing, white supremacy, violent conspiracy movement that has been exploding in this country for years is now starting to manifest in violence. So we will show all of this to you. Please smash that like button under the video, share this live stream. Super chats are welcome. So we can get this out to as many people as possible. I went live earlier with the breaking news that Merrick Garland was going to speak, the Attorney General. He announced that the Department of Justice has filed to unseal the search warrant that was issued to raid Mar-a-Lago. On that search warrant, there will be the crimes that they are alleging President Trump or former President Trump committed. At the same time, the New York Times broke that there was a subpoena issued to President Trump before the FBI raided his Mar-a-Lago compound. A subpoena was issued months ago demanding that Trump return classified information and documents to the National Archives. It was learned later that what Trump did return, he did not return all of it, which led to the search warrant since he did not comply with the subpoena. At the same time, this morning, there was an attack by a man wielding an AR-15 style weapon on the Cincinnati, Ohio office of the FBI. Then there was a chase with this man for hours. We have now learned that this man was there on January 6th, that he was apparently an extremist, and that he was calling for war and a call to arms right after the Mar-a-Lago raid, and then went and attacked the FBI. Let me start with this, Colin, and please smash that like button. We got 230 people watching, but only 86 people have pressed the like button. So the more people that press the like button, the more people that will see the live stream. Very, very important. So, Colin, if we could start with Travis View, his tweet. Let me know when you get that up. So the New York Times has identified the Ohio shooting suspect as Ricky Schiefer. I think I'm pronouncing it right. There is a Truth Social account using the same name. On the same day that the FBI executed a warrant on Mar-a-Lago, the account made a call to be ready for combat and to kill the FBI on sight. Colin, if you could expand this conversation so people could see it. So, people, this is it. I hope a call to arms comes from someone better qualified, but if not, this is your call to arms for me. Leave work tomorrow as soon as the gun shop, Army, Navy store, pawn shop opens. Get whatever you need to be ready for combat. We must not tolerate this one. They have been conditioning us to accept tyranny and think we can't do anything for 2 years. This time we must respond with force. If you know of any protests or attacks, please post here. So this was on Trump's Truth Social. Somebody responded, "Are you proposing terrorism?" He responded, "Very important question. No, I am proposing war. Be ready to kill the enemy, not mass shootings where leftists go, not lighting buses on fire with transsexuals in them, not finding people with leftist signs in their yards and beating them up. Violence is not all terrorism. Kill the FBI on sight and be ready to take down other active enemies of the people and those who try to prevent you from doing it. I want to repeat. I just want to repeat this because it's important. He said, be ready to kill the enemy, not mass shootings where leftists go, not lighting buses on fires with transsexuals in them, not finding people with leftist signs in their yards and beating them up. Violence is not all terrorism. Kill the FBI on sight and be ready to take down other active enemies of the people and those who try to prevent you from doing it. I want to continue with this thread. And again, this is from Travis View. He is one of the hosts of QAnon Anonymous. So he has done a lot of reporting on the QAnon movement and the violent conspiracy movement. Colin, the next post on the thread. The last post was from the Ricky Schiefer account on Truth Social, is from this morning, before he attacked the FBI in Ohio, Cincinnati. If you don't hear from me, it is true. I tried attacking the FBI, and it'll mean either I was taken off the internet, the FBI got me, or they sent the regular cops. More violent rhetoric from Ricky Schiefer account on Truth Social. Colin, if you could magnify it and, you know, make it as easy for people to read as possible. Zoom in. I'm having trouble getting information, but Viva Frisi said patriots are heading to Palm Beach where Mar-a-Lago is. I recommend going, and being Florida, I think the feds won't break it up. If they do, kill them. Somebody responded, oh dear, we can't resort to that. Not now, not here. He responded, why not? So to be clear, and smash that like button, share this live stream. You know, I've joked about the right-wing meltdown on Fox News and other places. I've joked of their talks. You know, they loved the FBI when there was a chance to indict Hillary Clinton. Now they hate the FBI. It's tyranny when their fearless leader was raided. But Fox News, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder, all these right-wing grifters and lunatics, they are egging unstable, paranoid extremists to commit violence. Okay? By the way, I'm not going to show the images because I have not yet confirmed them, but there are images floating around Twitter and the internet of this shooter who went with an AR-15 style weapon and started shooting at the Cincinnati FBI officers. They shot back. They killed him. There was a standoff for several hours. The shooter is dead now. The man who wrote those posts is dead now. But there's posts going around the internet. When I can confirm it, I'll show it. This man was there on January 6th, too, during the riots, during the attempted coup. Yes, that's what it was. I want to also show this from Ben Collins. He's from NBC News. He does a lot of reporting on extremism, the violent conspiracy movements. He has more information. If we could show this thread, Colin. Man who fired nail gun at FBI building called for violence on Truth Social in days after Mar-a-Lago search. Posted, I tried attacking the FBI shortly after the shooting. Now the next part. Ricky Schiefer, who shot into an FBI field office, posted this in a reply to Marjorie Taylor Greene in May. Congresswoman Greene, they got away with fixing elections in plain sight. It's over. The next step is the one we used in 1775, referring to the bullshit lies that Donald Trump really won the election, which, of course, we know that Biden won the election. Trump has been lying about the election. I have to say that on YouTube to be clear. We covered January 6th. We were on the ground there. John Farina, who is freelancing for us there as a video journalist, he got the historic footage of that cop's head rammed into the door. That's been aired around the world over and over on CNN a gazillion times. Biden won the election. I'm not a fan of Biden, but it is what it is. He won. Trump lost. But Trump has literally lied and hoodwinked millions of people into thinking this nonsense. So he replied to Marjorie Taylor Greene, the next step is the ones we used in 1775. Let's show this because this is from an NBC News reporter, so I'm going to trust it here. They get things wrong, but I'm going to show this because this is the NBC News reporter showing it. Ricky Schiefer, who died after a shootout with police while fleeing the FBI office in Cincinnati, was at the Capitol riot on January 6th. He told users to shoot FBI agents on site on Truth Social after Monday's Mar-a-Lago search. And you could show us, if you could scroll down a little bit to show his image. So that's him there on January 6th at the Capitol. So, there's more information, but I just want to say something here. This channel and me as a journalist, we cover corruption. We cover democratic corruption. In general, I don't cover right-wing extremism, right-wing corruption, the growing fascist movement, as much as I cover the corporate Dems corruption. With that said, make no mistake, for years under Trump, the right wing has been literally fanning the flames for violent extremism. Started, I would say, if you want to look back, in Charlottesville, Virginia, where Trump said there's good people on both sides. You remember during the presidential debates with Biden, when asked about the Proud Boys, Trump didn't denounce them. He said, stand back and stand by. Stand back and stand by. Could not denounce the Proud Boys. Obviously, what happened on January 6th, which right after Republicans were denouncing it, but then when they thought there was any chance of them crossing Donald Trump and his base, which means they might lose power, because generally Republican politicians that have crossed Donald Trump have lost their primaries and et cetera, they turned around lickety split. They went from criticizing Trump, the few who did it, to saying this was just a protest that got a little out of hand. And since then, Trump has been pouring gasoline on the fire and igniting crazies on 4chan, on the Donald, which is the most popular Donald Trump chat room. Truth Social apparently has these people. You have Fox News hosts who have been hysterical since this raid on Monday, which we learned today. The Department of Justice, the FBI, they didn't just raid his compound in Mar-a-Lago as the first choice. They issued a subpoena to Trump, which legally is the least aggressive thing you could do. That's what you do originally when you just issue a subpoena for a person who may or may not be a target of an investigation, may or not be suspected of crimes, asking them to provide you documents, whether they took the documents or not. This happens routinely in criminal investigations all the time and civil investigations. So they took the less aggressive, non-invasive approach months ago, issuing a subpoena. We learned today from the New York Times reporting that Trump defied the subpoena, meaning he returned some of what he was subpoenaed for, but kept a lot of other things that he was subpoenaed for, i.e., hid certain things. But Fox News, right away, because it's within their business interests, their profits, their gaslighting of America, they made it out that Donald Trump was the most persecuted man in American history. They screamed tyranny. And this is coming from somebody who's not a fan of the FBI. I would love to see the FBI abolished, but in terms of the FBI sins and crimes, raiding Mar-a-Lago because Donald Trump possibly committed crimes is not one of the FBI's crimes. So, contrary to Jimmy Dore and other fake leftists like him who put out straw man arguments to play to their right-wing audience, like you're celebrating the FBI by actually being happy that a politician and president might be held accountable for crimes possibly committed. You're not celebrating the FBI. Nobody's celebrating the FBI. But with that said, look at what is happening. This is not completely connected. Trump, he's the one who made it public that Mar-a-Lago was raided, not the Department of Justice, not the FBI. Trump made it public. Trump put out there, my precious Mar-a-Lago, my beautiful place. They're coming after me, tyranny. And then the Fox News machine followed. Colin, let's play just some of the clips of the right-wing hysteria over the last few days.
I did not try to.
Honest hunt.
I mean, this was a highly performative raid, Rob. You had the entire circle around President Trump's great American flag full of black SUVs. The FBI even rented a rider truck so they could bring in like 30 armed agents to Mar-a-Lago, of all places.
The president is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And I agree with that. But your speculation, I just think, is just
I don't think it's speculation at all. You do not break into a house of a guy that you've been working with for 9 months, that you have to admit has been cooperating with you for presidential records? No.
Can I ask you a question?
No. I'm going to answer your question.
Yes, ma'am.
And you do not do that and have guys with AR-15 and women, I might add, at the front of Mar-a-Lago, illegitimate and immoral, and the country knows it. And you have destroyed our faith in the justice system.
Just one question, Judge.
It's not Donald Trump's fault. It's their fault.
His lawyers have that search warrant. They could release it.
And the government can answer the question.
All right.
I'm angry. I feel violated. The whole country feels violated. It's disgusting. They've declared war on us, and now it's game on. Imagine you're Eric Trump and you're at Mar-a-Lago. That's your home. Your mother has just died 2 weeks ago, and they're sending FBI agents with weapons into your house, violating your privacy like that. It's unbelievable.
They are in search to try and destroy Trump. They had conducted a criminal investigation. They failed. They have an investigation in New York with the Attorney General that's going to fail. They have a Democrat. Oh, Christ. You're cutting me off early. I'm done.
I'm not trying. No. Finish that thought. Last one. You were talking about you were going to refer to Atlanta. All right. Sorry. Great one.
Atlanta, Albany, Washington, all of it.
The great one. Mark Levin.
Let's go through the list here. Let's go through the list. We're violated. It's war. Game on. Listen to the words they're using. It's war. Game on. Tyranny. What the fuck do you think's going to happen when you have so many crazy people in this country with guns? And by the way, do you think these fucking gas bags on Fox News would be saying this if it was Hunter Biden's house that was raided? If it was Hillary Clinton's house that was raided? You think they'd be crying tyranny and how violated they are? At some point, something's got to give here, because literally between the right-wing media machine, between these pathetic, emasculated Republican politicians that are so fucking afraid of Donald Trump, they won't cross him. They won't criticize him. Jesus Christ, it was a search warrant executed. None of them want to ask, well, why didn't Trump return all of the information that he was subpoenaed for? Why didn't Trump give back why did Trump take classified information in the first place? And by the way, I'm somebody who thinks Hillary Clinton should have been indicted back in the day. Do you think if I had a private server or I sent classified information via email that I'd be free standing in front of the United Corporations of America flag? Hell no. So this isn't just like Trump derangement syndrome. I say Hillary Clinton should be indicted. Frankly, she committed crimes when it came to the Clinton Foundation too. I say all the Wall Street bankers that took down our global financial system through fraud, all of them should be in prison, but they're not, because we live in the United Corporations of America and Obama let them off the hook. But, oh my God, cry me a fucking river that Donald Trump was raided and you have supposed leftists out there. Oh, you're cheering on the FBI. No, if you're a leftist, hell, forget leftists. If you are a common sense person, do you truly believe? Take your hat off. Leftist, conservative, right winger, whatever. Do you truly believe that the Attorney General of the United States, that the head of the FBI, who, by the way, was appointed by Trump, Christopher Wray was appointed by Trump, okay? Do you truly believe that they would sign off, and a judge would sign off on raiding a president of the United States home if they did not have evidence that crimes were committed? Do you truly believe that? That's not me saying the FBI should be celebrated. You truly think they would take the step to raid his home if they did not have evidence, which, by the way, on a search warrant, you have to put what your evidence is. You have to list what are the crimes you believe might have been committed. You think they would do that? Why? To stop Trump from running for office? If you truly believe that, yes, absolutely. I completely disagree with you. Completely disagree with you. And by the way, I find it very, very, very hard to believe that this is all over the mishandling of classified information. Because if it was all over the mishandling of classified information, then there would be hell to pay if they indicted Donald Trump for mishandling classified information when they let Hillary Clinton off the hook. I'm not saying blindly trust the FBI or the Department of Justice. What I am saying is to take this unprecedented step, you don't do it without evidence of something, and strong evidence. But the bottom line is they did not raid Trump right out of the gate. This was not their first measure. They issued a subpoena privately months ago. And according to the New York Times reporting, Trump did not comply with the subpoena. Again, Trump didn't comply with the subpoena. He did not return all of the documents that he was subpoenaed for. How did the FBI and Department of Justice know that? Based on reporting out there, they had an informant. They had a source, which is probably someone in Trump's orbit, somebody at Mar-a-Lago who literally could tell the FBI exactly where to look, because they were in and out of there in less than a day. If they didn't know where to look, it probably would have taken a lot longer than a day. But the point is, take your right-winger hat off, take your left-wing hat off, and just look at common sense. People are going to be killed, okay? Violence is going to continue to erupt, not just at FBI offices, but at city halls, at capitals, randomly at malls, concerts, you name it. Because the right wing, Trump, his sycophants, are propping up this lunacy, are propping up that he is the victim of tyranny. It's lucky that nobody was killed other than this extremist today. But he's not the only one. The internet is a fucking sewer between 4chan, Parler back in the day, Gab. What's that other one? I forget. There's so many of these different right-wing extremist, violent conspiracy chats out there. Truth Social, apparently. And this guy literally, right after the Mar-a-Lago raid, when Fox News was ranting at the top of its lungs. Colin, do you have that clip from Steve Bannon? It should be still in the live stream, Doc. I want to play that again.
Enough.
No,
Causing the righteous indignation of the American people starting in January. We're going to investigate, we're going to litigate, and wait for it, we're going to incarcerate. Okay?
Yep.
You are lawless. You're running this like a Gestapo. You're going after a president of the United States and to know that you went to some Grundun magistrate. Let's see the affidavit and let's see it today.
We're going to incarcerate. And by the way, that's one of the tame things Steve Bannon has said. He's called for war over this. So what the hell do you think is going to happen? There's also some QAnon boards that you could get banned for posting the link on some social media platforms. I found them, and they are all full fascist. By the way, you know Tina Desiree Berg, who's done great work for us. She has been literally for 2 years dissecting and going into these chat rooms and these boards. She's been going to cover right-wing extremist protests, from QAnon to medical autonomy to MAGA rallies, and they are thick with extremists. There are people there that tried to pull down her mask and attack her at one of the rallies. And by the way, this, to be clear, because there's some people like Jimmy Dore and others who like to just toss out straw mans. To be clear, two things could be true at the same time. The FBI, to me, has for a long time been a terrorist organization. They infiltrated, surveilled, and did despicable things to Martin Luther King, to Malcolm X, to the Black Panthers. Leonard Peltier is the longest serving political prisoner in the United Corporations of America. He's a Native American man that back in the 1970s was present at a shootout on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. There was never any evidence that he fired gunshots at FBI officials. 2 FBI officials were killed there. There was never any evidence that Leonard Peltier shot at them. There was never any evidence that Leonard Peltier killed them. He has been rotting in a prison for 45 years, and his health is failing, and he's probably going to die in prison. Multiple senators have asked President Biden to release him, to free him. Biden won't do it. The reason they won't free him is because it would expose that the FBI pinned it on him, pinned the crimes, pinned the killings on this Native American man, then covered it up after. How do I know? Because one of the prosecutors that was key in prosecuting Leonard Peltier has come out years later saying there was manipulation of evidence and he should be freed. So the point is, nobody here, and no leftist that I know, a real leftist, is cheering on the FBI. But at the end of the day, who do you think is going to go to get the documents from Mar-a-Lago? The Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Tea Partiers? I mean, who do you think's going to go to do it? But this, by the way, because there will be people who come out and say, Jordan, you're a hypocrite. You worked at Fox News. I did work at Fox News. From 2008 to 2010, I worked for Fox News. That's a discussion for another day. I graduated in college in 2008. The economy had collapsed. Couldn't get a job anywhere. Back then, I was way more naive politically. I didn't even know I just thought Fox News was a news outlet, and I was happy to get a job. Had not a clue that it was literally the Republican National Convention there. Anyway, I worked there for 2 years. Then I worked at MSNBC for a year. Then I got the fuck out of all that cable news shit. But the bottom line is, Fox News has always been a propaganda mill for the right wing. But what's different is in the age of Trump, they don't care whatsoever if the things that they say kill people. They don't care if they incite the loonies on the internet. They don't care if people take, Jesse Waters saying this is war, game on. Or if Mark Levin says tyranny, this is the end of the republic. They don't give a shit. We're going to have Tina is going to be on tomorrow because this is her expertise. She has covered right-wing extremism. She has covered the QAnon conspiracy theory. She has covered the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, all of that. She has broken a lot of stories on this. So we're definitely going to have Tina on tomorrow to expose all of this. But this has not happened just in one step. This has happened over time. And I want to go back to Colin, if we could put it back up, the first one from Travis View. I want to go back to his posts because he has posts of the shooter who attacked the FBI in Cincinnati today, who was killed, who also we now know was there on January 6th, part of the riots, part of the attempted coup. But I want to show something on here that's key. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, 1 second. give me a minute. I'm trying to find this. Where is it? Where is it? All right, I'll just read the whole thing again, and hopefully I can find it. If you have his post, Colin. And to the people that came late, you might have not seen this if you came late. So this is Travis View. He is the one of the co-hosts of QAnon Anonymous. He's done great work on the QAnon conspiracy movement. This is Ricky Schiefer, the Cincinnati, Ohio shooter. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. We do a lot of great on-the-ground reporting. I was just in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia for a reporting tour for 8 days. We covered the economic hellscape that is actually the reality going on, where people are literally on the brink of eviction. We interviewed homeless people. We interviewed people working 2 to 3 jobs. We exposed what's actually happening on the ground, contrary to Biden and the media's bullshit. This is the quote unquote historic economic recovery. So we do a lot of on the ground reporting on things that the corporate media ignores in addition to this. But I want to reread this because I found what I wanted to stress. All right, Ricky Schiefer. People, this is it. And he posted this on the same day as the Mar-a-Lago raid. People, this is it. I hope a call to arms comes from someone better qualified, but if not, this is your call to arms from me. Leave work tomorrow as soon as the gun shop, Army, Navy store, pawn shop opens. Get whatever you need to be ready for combat. We must not tolerate this one. They have been conditioning us to accept tyranny and think we can't do anything for 2 years. I want to repeat that part. They have been conditioning us to accept tyranny and think we can't do anything for 2 years. This time we must respond with force. If you know of any protests or attacks, please post here. Why that's important? He's referring to January 6th and the Stop the Steal bullshit. He's referring to the January 6th and Stop the Steal movement, which is all based on lies. Let me repeat, all based on lies. As somebody who's actually covered real election fraud, I give you the Democratic primaries. Biden won the election. Trump lost the election. Trump, all of his election lawsuits were laughed out of court. So bottom line, people like this probably were already a little, missing a few screws before January 6th. Whatever their issues are, a lot of these people become radicalized due to tough economic circumstances, which is because of neoliberalism. Not all of them, some of them, get sucked into the right-wing extremism vortex because, there's no jobs. Society is decaying. They get hooked on opioids, et cetera, et cetera. But he's referring the tyranny of the last 2 years to what he has been fed by a lot of right-wing outlets, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, what's his face? Steven Crowder, Newsmax, OANN. They have been fed a bunch of lies and fairy tales that your country was stolen for you. The election was stolen from you. Biden's not the real president. This is tyranny. All of those were lies. And then once Trump was raided, he continues for political purposes to claim he's some type of political prisoner, or they're going after him for political reasons. And I want to respond to this. Raj, Jordan, I'm a socialist, but I don't want to see political opponents arrested unless we get all of them. I mean, Bush, Cheney, Clinton, Manchin. Hey, I'm with you. But I don't actually think wanting Trump to be held accountable for crimes he committed, I don't think that means you're okay. The fact that George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, Hillary Clinton, the bankers, you left them out, are free. I'd like to see them all indicted, but we live in the United Corporations of America. Good luck with that. But I don't really get this straw man stuff that people are putting out there that if you believe Trump should be held accountable if he committed crimes, because at this point, we don't know what the search warrant was for. Merrick Garland, I believe, has called his bluff by saying we have filed a motion. The Department of Justice has filed a motion to unseal the search warrant. But I don't really get the thinking like you don't think Trump should be held accountable because A, B, and C person has not been held accountable. Or we don't think Trump should be held accountable because FBI bad. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. Like, the reality is the FBI exists, whether we like it or not. Now, we could have a separate discussion of how do we abolish the FBI, throw in the CIA while you're at it. To me, the CIA is much worse than the FBI. Much worse. Go ask the Kennedys about that. But it is what it is. Like, basically people pushing this that like they shouldn't go after Trump because the FBI's bad. So you just think let him keep documents he took? We don't know the nature. We don't know the nature of the documents. Jordan, Washington Post reports the raid was over nuclear weapons documents. I haven't seen that. If that's news, put it in the chat so I could read it. But I have not seen that yet. Nuclear weapons. Hold on. Let me read this. Hold on. Sending it to you, Colin. And Colin, could you also get what Dean just sent in our chat ready? I want to read this Washington Post story, though, first. I just sent it to you. But while we're getting that ready, listen, the bottom line is, like, all of these fucking corrupt politicians should be held accountable. Hell, Joe Manchin, his daughter should be in prison. She was the head of a pharmaceutical company and illegally jacked up EpiPen prices. Joe Manchin should be in prison for a whole lot of things, including while serving as a senator, he's helped jack up the electricity rates in West Virginia to enrich himself, among other things. Nancy Pelosi should be in prison. She's been insider trading and enriching herself, her husband too, with inside information. I mean, you could go down the list and find reasons all these people should be in prison. That doesn't mean like, oh, well, because they're not, let's not go after Trump. Like, come on. That doesn't make sense. So, Colin, if you have the Washington Post story. The FBI searched Trump's home to look for nuclear documents and other items, sources say. Classified documents relating to nuclear weapons were among the items FBI agents sought in a search for former President Donald Trump's Florida residence on Monday, according to people familiar with the investigation. Experts in classified information said the unusual search underscores deep concern among government officials about the types of information that they thought could be located at Trump's Mar-a-Lago and potentially in danger of falling into the wrong hands. The people who described some of the materials that agents were seeking spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss an ongoing investigation. They did not offer additional details about what type of information the agents were seeking, including whether it involved weapons belonging to the U.S. All right, so this is kind of speculative. It's not definite, but that would make sense. That would make sense if Trump had taken classified material about nuclear weapons, considering Mar-a-Lago has people coming in and out of there all day long, every day, including foreigners. So it would make sense that they felt the need to seize the place and take everything if what they were looking for or what they found out Trump has that he did not give back is any information having to do with nuclear weapons or nuclear codes. And this is somebody, I think we should get rid of all nuclear weapons. But if Trump had them, you better fucking believe they're going to go in there and take that shit back, because I wouldn't trust Trump to hold my parking pass, let alone with any information about nuclear weapons. Colin, do you have what Dean put in the chat? That post from Ricky? Here's another one. This is from 8 Hours. Well, I thought I had a way through bulletproof glass, and I didn't. If you don't hear from me, it is true I tried attacking the FBI, and it'll mean either I was taken off the internet, the FBI got me, or they sent the regular cops. I don't think that's the one, Colin. It's in the group text. Here we go. So this was from May. I'm going to post this here, vaguely related. In the comedy, Dante mentions a corrupt church official who died between Good Friday and Easter. Ishara S., an awful anti-Christian disinformant, died Christmas 2015. Burn. And these are replies to Andy No, another lunatic right-wing fascist. He was 30. I know plenty of men want to kill their sons when they're 16. So this is not the first, by the way, shooter who had communications or was a fan of Andy No, who Tina has done a lot of good reporting on. So this guy was obviously missing screws, but it doesn't help when Trump is, a search warrant is issued after he does not comply with a subpoena. Again, to the right wingers out there, the first step was a non-aggressive, the legally least aggressive step that could be taken, which was issuing a subpoena, which is private and sealed. So Trump could have just given back all the documents, but he didn't. And obviously there is a source and an informant that the FBI and the DOJ had. Likely has to be somebody who's at Mar-a-Lago or in Trump's orbit that tipped them off. Yeah, he didn't give you back everything. He still has X, Y, and Z. And I'm assuming that informant knew he's got some serious shit here that he shouldn't be trusted with. So what? Are we against defunding and rising up against federal agents now? What are you, a leftist pacifist? Yeah, I'm against rising up against federal agents if they're actually doing something good. Yes, I'm against that. I mean, I don't know what more to say. By the way, to be clear, there is not one of these right-wingers on Fox News, Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, Steven Crowder. I mean, the list goes on. They would not be decrying the FBI. They would not be hyperventilating over tyranny if the raid was on Hunter Biden. Frankly, I don't think Jimmy Dore and these other leftists would be attacking people as you're celebrating the FBI if it was Hunter Biden or Hillary Clinton. Folks, listen, I'm somebody, if you're new to Status Coup, first off, subscribe to the channel, please. It makes a big difference. Press the like button. Super chats are welcome. I've been on the road for 7 years. I covered both Bernie campaigns, 2016, 2020. I covered both Trump campaigns, 2020. I was in Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin. I covered at least 60 Trump rallies over the last few years. I've covered Trump flag drops, which are kind of like marches. I've covered Black Lives Matter. I've covered Blue Lives Matter events. I've covered a lot of scary events. I've covered a lot of scary events. And the one constant, there's a lot of people that voted for Donald Trump who are not bad people. I've met some of them. I've interviewed some of them. A lot of good-hearted people that just got sick of the Democratic Party selling them a bunch of bullshit. They got sick of their jobs being offshored to China and Mexico and elsewhere. They got sick of, basically 20 years ago, they were able to work a full-time job, 40 hours, have good pay, good benefits, take a vacation once in a blue moon. Now they're working 2 to 3 jobs. They can't help their kids with their education. Life has become a lot harder. I've covered ghost towns across the Midwest that used to be vibrant towns and cities that are now a sea of boarded up storefronts, boarded up, closed down plants, closed down youth centers because of what globalization has done to them. So I've seen up close, people have a reason to be upset. People have a reason to be angry. People have a reason to be hopeless. With all that said, violence is not the answer. Violence is not going to get us political change. It's not. Organizing will. Economic boycotts, which I've been calling for a while, economic boycotts will help. Occupy Wall Street was a start, even though that wasn't a full economic boycott. Threatening power, not with violence, but with their wallets, boycotting, coming together, mutual aid. But all of this, a lot of people got sucked into that Donald Trump, a corrupt billionaire, we don't know if he's a billionaire, who, by the way, there's a long history of him committing crimes in New York. Money laundering, tax fraud, just to name a few. They got hoodwinked into believing Donald Trump was a populist, that Donald Trump was going to bring back their jobs, that Donald Trump was going to end the wars, that Donald Trump was anti-establishment. Anyone who grew up in New York, if you would say to them that Donald Trump was actually populist or anti-establishment, they would laugh in your fucking face. So many people, through righteous anger, maybe economic hard times, or maybe just they're not stable people for whatever reason, they're mentally unstable, have been sucked in by this Make America Great movement. Some of them are straight up racist. They hate black people. They hate Mexicans, et cetera, et cetera. And Fox News and Steve Bannon and pathetic, spineless, pussy Republicans are fanning the flames. They're fanning the flames. And you want to know something? I was not alive in the 1930s and 40s, and I was very careful not to compare, Trump to Hitler and these things. I don't think people should just casually toss around the term Nazi or comparisons to Hitler or the Nazis or fascism in the 1930s, because that was a very, very evil, specific thing. And I think you have to be very careful about just tossing that around. But what we're seeing now in America and the explosion of violent conspiracy theories, violent rhetoric, the otherizing of each other. It's the Mexicans to blame. It's the black people to blame. It's the transgender people to blame. It's the woke people to blame. It's the gays to blame. And having fake strongman like Trump, like Ron DeSantis, who sees on people's anger. A lot of the anger is justified because of the economic conditions I just said. Who sees on that anger, for whatever their reasons are, political ambition, narcissism, delusions of grandeur, which Trump certainly has, all three. You're creating a flammable situation. You're creating a powder keg. This country is a powder keg. And this is why I have zero, let me repeat, zero respect for people I used to respect, like Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, these people, these leftists who just minimize things like January 6th. Oh, it's just a protest that got a little out of control. Who pretend, these were a bunch of numbskulls, a coup. If 20 black people, if 20 brown people, if 10 indigenous people breach the Capitol, if 20 Antifa members breach the Capitol to try and stop anything, Fox News would be calling it the biggest attack on in American history. Glenn Greenwald, he'd be speaking up about its significance. When, thousands of people stormed the Capitol to try and stop the certification of an election. And this is not for someone that I wanted to be president, Biden. It's not somebody that I, cheer. I think Biden is corrupt. I think Biden is a warmonger. I think he's a fucking corrupt politician that palled around with segregationists in the 1970s and 80s. I wish Bernie would have actually run an actual scorched earth campaign against him. Point out his lies about his involvement in the civil rights movement. Point out his lies and that he created mass incarceration of black men. So this is not love for Biden, but he won the election. Fair and square. He won the election. There was never any evidence for Trump's bullshit. The bottom line is, if you are a leftist, you need to be speaking out against this. It doesn't mean you ignore Democratic Party corruption. It doesn't mean you're embracing the Democratic Party. It doesn't mean you're telling people vote blue no matter who. I don't give a shit who you vote for. I'm a journalist. It's not my role to tell you who to vote for. You vote Democrat, you vote Republican, you vote third party, don't vote. That's up to you. But we all, journalists, activists, it doesn't matter, need to start speaking up now and acting so that this doesn't become what we saw in the 1930s and 40s in Europe. This country doesn't explode into a 21st century civil war. Because that's where things are going. And I have seen it. I can't tell you. I mean, I have a pretty thick skin. I don't scare that easily because I've been on the ground and I've covered a lot of things. It takes a lot to make me nervous. There's a few times I was very nervous for my safety, for my life. One of them was at Standing Rock, where things were being shot at, and I didn't know if they were real bullets, rubber bullets. I got shot in my calf by a rubber bullet when I was reporting at Standing Rock. You just don't know if they're firing real bullets. I was very, very scared. I saw somebody whose scalp was nearly shot off with a rubber bullet from point blank range. When you're in that situation as a journalist, yeah, I mean, I'm a human being. I was scared. So I've covered Black Lives Matter protests that were pretty scary, what the cops were doing. And I didn't know if I was going to get shot because the police, we didn't know if the police were going to be shooting. I have covered Trump rallies, to people who criticize me because I voted for Biden. First off, I never told anyone who to vote for. The audience asked me who you're voting for, and I told them. I'll tell you why I voted for Biden. It's very simple. Because I lived in New York, I was not going to vote for Biden. I mean, I didn't need to. I could have voted a third-party candidate because New York was going to go for Biden anyway. But a couple of the last Trump rallies that I covered in 2020 on the road, one in specific really stood out to me. It was in Erie, Pennsylvania. I think there was at least 15,000 people there. It was the final days before the election. He had on a mega screen, not Fox News, but OANN, which is like Fox News times 100. It is a complete batshit conspiracy, white supremacist, loony fucking channel. I think it's been taken off the air. And Trump came on stage. They were playing OAN over him. OAN was like calling for war and, we need to, this is war. We need to, I'm paraphrasing, but we need to, be on the front lines with President Trump. And Trump spoke. And by the way, this was at the worst of coronavirus. There was like 3,000 people dying a day. Not a mask in sight. And the way Trump spoke really reminded me of old speeches that I saw from people like Mussolini and Hitler. This was the first time that listening to Trump, I directly heard it. The way he was talking sounded to me like authoritarians of the 1930s and 40s. He was talking about taking it to our enemies on the left. He was talking about they're coming for your kids. They're coming for your future at this rally. And the audience, it was like a pack of hyenas. These people were eating it up. Eating it up. And almost like as Trump talked, they got more and more excitable. This wasn't like 2016, because at 2016, I covered a lot of Trump rallies, but it was more like a circus animal act. It wasn't like it had gotten a lot darker over the years to the point of this last rally I was at. And I said to myself, honestly, I feel like I'm at like a fucking Klan rally or something. I truly feel like if I was alive during the worst of the Ku Klux Klan, like I feel like this is like a political Klan rally. And I even said to my cameraman at the time, I forget who it is, like, does this seem to this seems like a Klan rally? And my cameraman at the time said, this is really, really fucking dark. This is like worse than I've ever heard him. And then I thought to myself, after I was hearing this stuff, and by the way, in 2016, I voted for Jill Stein. I lost close friends. One close friend. The other friend that got pissed, we're friends again. But one friend just dropped me like a bad habit because I voted for Jill Stein and didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. But then I thought to myself, this is like something I had never seen before. The way Trump was talking, the way the audience was reacting, it was getting darker and darker and darker. Of course, this came after a year of Trump like recklessly pretending COVID wasn't real and COVID isn't a thing and don't wear a mask and this and that. And then I thought to myself, you know, Trump jokes around a lot about serving more than 2 terms. Trump has joked a lot about amending the Constitution and changing things that he could serve for, into perpetuity. I realized I don't think Donald Trump is joking. I think if he would have got reelected, he would have made attempts to stay in power for as long as he wanted. He might have taken efforts just to do away with the election. And you could say, Jordan, you're being dramatic, or Jordan, blah, blah, blah. This is the advantage I have by actually being on the ground and covering things. You could say whatever you want, but if you were not there, you did not see what I saw. And I said to myself, you know what? Whether Biden's going to win New York or not, with or without my vote, obviously he didn't need my vote. I in my good conscience could not vote for the person that had the best chance to beat Trump. Not because I supported that person, but because I said to myself, you know what? I'd rather deal with neoliberal corporatism. I'd rather deal with Biden. I'd rather deal with like Kamala Harris and Neera Tanden and like MSNBC sycophants of Biden and the Democratic Party, because I know that enemy. I don't want to deal with whatever this version of Trump is, Rudy Giuliani, QAnon. I mean, who knows? He might have made fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene Secretary of State. He might have made Michael Flynn Secretary of Defense. I'd rather deal with the devil I know than whatever this was going to become. So I bring that up not like as a defense. Again, if you didn't vote for Biden, that's fine. I didn't tell my viewers to vote for Biden. I don't tell my viewers vote blue no matter who, because I don't believe that. I think there's plenty of instances to vote for a third party. But at the end of the day, there's something dark happening in America. And it's not just about the right-wing fascism. This is the culmination of 30 years of the growth of partisan media, Fox News, Rush Limbaugh for decades, Sean Hannity on the radio and Fox News, then the digital media, so Steven Crowder, Charlie Kirk, there's plenty of big right-wing channels on YouTube, right-wing podcasters, Tim Pool. This is the culmination of 30 years of extreme partisan media that is now evolved into it's war, game on, tyranny. And they're inciting unstable people to actually believe their bullshit, to actually believe the country is under attack by Biden or by, Antifa or by like transgender people. And they're inciting people like the guy who went to an FBI office in Cincinnati today to shoot up a bunch of people who was killed. and who was there on January 6th. And by the way, Colin, go back to the first post because I want to read this first post again because it says it all. This is from Travis. Travis's Twitter. The first post from Ricky Schiefer today, or 2 days ago, excuse me. Go down a little bit. Okay, very important question. No, I am proposing war, but get ready to kill the enemy, not mass shootings where leftists go, not lighting buses on fire where transsexuals are in them, not finding people with leftist signs in their yards and beating them up. Violence is not all terrorism. Kill the FBI on sight and ready to take down other active enemies of the people and those who try to prevent you from doing it. So it's all in there. The transsexuals, the left. I'm sure as more information comes and more of this guy's old social media posts, I'm sure there's going to be stuff in there about woke people and Black Lives Matter and Antifa. This is all being fed to these people by loony, gaslighting charlatans. And by the way, I'm not calling to deplatform these people because actually I believe if you deplatform these people, it's going to incite these lunatics even more. But it is time for people to stand up on the left to this fucking insanity. Instead of placating to of course, Alex Jones too, I forgot him. Instead of placating these right-wing extremists. Instead of like wink, wink, these people doing like videos and headlines like Marjorie Taylor Greene is right. Are you fucking crazy if you're a leftist? And saying Marjorie Taylor Greene is right, abolish the FBI. Do you actually believe Marjorie Taylor Greene has a principled stance to abolish the FBI? Do you actually believe that? You're just doing it for clicks. You're just doing it to go viral or something. You're trying to tap into the growing right-wing audience online. Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want to abolish the FBI. She doesn't have any core principle. She's a fucking fascist. Yes, opportunists. Listen, I would have had a ton more viewers. We would have exploded in subscribers if I would have started pivoting to the right, if I would have done hashtag fraud squad 24/7. I would have had a ton of more subscribers, by the way, if years ago I covered Trump 24/7 and I covered Russia 24/7 instead of going on the ground and covering the Flint water crisis. I've been there 18 times in 6 years, covering the Flint water cover-up, staying on stories that the corporate media ignores. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe. If you like our on-the-ground reporting, we just did a reporting tour for over 8 days in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, exposing that we're actually living in an economic Hunger Games. The economy isn't actually recovering. Most people are fucking treading water. I also covered a Starbucks workers strike on Sunday. So we do a lot of on-the-ground reporting. It doesn't go viral on YouTube. It's not the sexy topics. YouTube buries our substantive on-the-ground reporting. We are funded and built by you, the viewer. That's why we have a membership model. So if you're new here, check us out, statuscoup.com/join. You could support our on-the-ground reporting for $5 to $10 a month. That's statuscoup.com/join. If you can't support us financially, that's okay too. Just subscribe, share the content, all that good stuff. But if you can support us financially, for 16 cents a day, you could support our on-the-ground reporting. And on the homepage of this YouTube channel is our promo video, which will show you all the on-the-ground reporting we've done. But we are at a tipping point. This country is a powder keg, and there's going to be more issues like this. There's going to be more lunatics that posted on 4chan and Truth Social and, Gab or wherever else. They're going to try to shoot up political offices, that are going to try to shoot up the FBI, that are going to try to shoot up malls, concerts, sporting events, whatever. Fiona, yes, you can gift memberships. Email us about that. info@statuscoup.com if you want to gift a membership. info@statuscoup.com. Yes, we are doing call-ins. I just did a call-in earlier. We're on call-in. You can follow us on call-in at Status Coup. And definitely follow us on Twitter at Status Coup on Twitter. We're on all of them. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're everywhere. Jordan, you're so credible because you've been on scene and have a better feel for those things. I didn't read that to toot my own horn. I read that because I am so fucking sick. Let me repeat. I am so fucking sick of pretend leftists pontificating from their studios on the way politics works and, you know, basically doing running cover for Trump and the right wing and declaring that they're the real leftists, and, you know, anyone else who, you know, doesn't run cover for the right wing, anyone else that dares to cover the Republicans critically are fake leftists or Democrats. None of these people have traveled and covered the stories that I've covered. None of these people covered the amount of Trump rallies and right-wing rallies that I've covered. None of these people have seen what I've seen. So it's easy to sit in your studio comfortably, some of whom are sitting in their mansions comfortably while calling themselves, you know, the real leftists. Welcome new YouTube member, Clint. Yes, you can sign up as a YouTube member. You could also sign up through our website. Welcome new Status Coup member, Ken, just signed up. And Donald just signed up. So welcome to you. Hopefully we can get some more members while we're live. StatusCoup.com/join. I've actually been out there for 7 years, and I've been consistent. I cover Democratic Party corruption. There's people that come to this channel when they see that I'm covering the Republicans critically, and then they go away because they're partisans and don't like me covering their beloved Democratic Party critically. I don't really give a shit. I cover them all critically. Democrats, Republicans, third party. If you're corrupt, if you're selling yourself to special interests, if you're selling out the people to your donors, if you're an extremist, if you're playing footsie with right-wing extremists, if you're playing footsie with conspiracy, violent conspiracy movements, I'm going to call you out. We'll cover it critically. And I don't care if it's left. I don't care if it's the Democrats or the Republicans. I don't want to hear about these. I don't want to hear anymore for these leftists. Jimmy Dore's not a leftist. Go to look at his channel. Do you see Jimmy Dore covering with a lot of videos and analysis the mass union movement in this country that's going on right now, the amount of worker strikes that are going on right now, the tenants unions that are forming to fight illegal evictions? Do you see him having on these workers all the time with his massive platform? You see him having on workers that are trying to unionize, workers on strike. Me and Colin went to Iowa in October. We covered the John Deere strikes. We went to Iowa and Illinois and covered several of the picket lines. We asked them, who have you reached out to? They said they reached out to Jimmy Dore and others. Never heard back. Workers on strike. But they're the leftists? Give me a fucking break. I will read super chats at the end, but thank you so much, Jay San, for this incredibly generous super chat. $99.99. Love your content. Thank you. And by the way, if you're new here, subscribe, but also click on the bell for all notifications. Click on the bell for all notifications, which is right next to the subscribe button. You just hover over it and click all to get all notifications for this channel. There you go. Subscribe, click all notifications. Also, you could join our text message list so that you'll get a text when we're live. That's another great way that we kind of get around YouTube's fuckery, because YouTube doesn't like to notify people all the time when we're live. So that's statuscoup.com/text. Before I sign off, and we'll be live again tomorrow as new developments come, I just want to say, if you truly forget terms, forget being a leftist or whatever, forget all political terms. If you consider yourself a good person, if you care about your fellow man and woman, if you consider yourself a humanitarian, if you believe we're in this together, if you believe in collectivism, okay? If you care about the direction of the country, if you want to see more peace, if you want to actually pressure our government to actually represent us rather than their donors, we do live in the United Corporations of America. If you care about these things, you cannot be silent and turn a blind eye to fascism. And I don't use that word lightly. And by the way, there's all different types of fascism. Fascism isn't only like sending innocent people to their deaths at camps. There's corporate fascism, which I covered at Standing Rock. I was on the ground in North Dakota for 7 months on and off in 2016 and 2017. I covered, under Obama, by the way, and the Democrats, I covered the Department of Justice, the DOJ, the FBI, U.S. Marshals working with a fossil fuel company to terrorize indigenous water protectors and their white allies, to infiltrate the camp at Osheti-Sakoan, to infiltrate with moles the camp, to surveil them. The Homeland Security, the FBI were working with Tiger Swan, basically like a Blackwater type private mercenary company, to terrorize the camp, to go after the top leading activists there. That's fascism. When the state is working with corporations to protect capital, that's fascism. So fascism isn't only like Trump and the right wing, but we cannot ignore violent conspiracy movements that push myths and lies of stolen elections. We cannot ignore currently in this country, all over the country, there are Trump loyalists, state to state, and the Washington Post and others have reported on this. There are Trump loyalists, state to state, that are literally trying to remove election officials who committed the crime of certifying the election for Joe Biden. Secretaries of state, local county officials that are election officials, they're trying to remove them and put in place, insert Trump loyalists, so that in 2024, whether it's Trump, DeSantis, or name your Republican, so that they could actually steal the election, not certify the will of the people. And we've already done this once. The Supreme Court stole it for George W. Bush. Al Gore bowed out after fighting for like 2 months. So we've already seen an election stolen once. And we have six batshit Republicans on the Supreme Court now. What makes you think they're not going to do it again? They are trying to replace election officials that went against Trump, that actually stood up for actual democracy, which I don't think we really have a democracy in this country, but they stood up for whatever's left of the so-called democracy. I say we don't have a democracy because the popular vote winner does not win. We have a bullshit electoral college. I say we don't have a democracy because in a representative democracy, the politicians are supposed to represent the popular will of the people. A 2014 Princeton study showed we don't have a democracy. We have an oligarchy. 50% of this was in 2014. The Princeton study showed 50% of the time, the will of the wealthy elite and donors are enacted into legislation. 50% of the time, less than 5%, the majority will of the people is enacted into legislation. You don't call that a democracy. You call that an oligarchy and a rigged, corrupt system. So I'm going to keep covering this. I don't care if people say, Jordan, you're covering Trump 24/7. Well, what do you just ignore? You just ignore, former presidents or presidential candidates declaring, let's go to war. Let's take out our enemies. You just ignore a former president, according to what we know, taking classified material and not returning it. Do you just ignore a former president from what we could tell based on everything that's come out? You just ignore a former president inciting a fucking coup attempt? Still pushing years later this nonsense, the election was stolen? If he runs again, what makes you think he's not going to really try to steal the election again? And what makes you think he wouldn't be successful next time? This doesn't mean I'm for corrupt Democrats. I don't want Biden to win re-election again. I certainly don't want Kamala Harris in office. Hell no, I don't want Pete Buttigieg. But that's a completely separate topic. You don't ignore these things as a leftist. You don't like ignore like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who says we should be a white Christian nation again. This is what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying as she goes to white nationalist conferences and speaks at them. Yes, Marjorie Taylor Greene spoke at a white nationalist conference. You don't just ignore this because Democrats bad. I don't know, call me old-fashioned. I believe we could walk and chew gum at the same time, folks. You could call out Democratic Party corruption. You could call out they're fucking selling us out to the donors, while also focusing on right-wing extremism and fascism and violent conspiracy movements. By the way, somebody just wrote, I think Hunter Biden should be indicted. Are you fucking kidding me? He got paid $50,000 to sit on the board of a Ukrainian oil company. There is information out there that indicates Joe Biden knew about his son's dealings. Joe Biden might have been involved with his son's dealings. Absolutely, he should be indicted. And let me give a shout out because we just got another new Status Coup member. Welcome, Joseph. So that's Joseph, Ken, and Donald signed up. We also just got another YouTube member. Steven just signed up. Members are reigning. Sign up, please. So we got to get out of this fucking toxic mentality that we could only cover the Democrats. And if you cover right-wing extremism and you actually don't ignore it, you're propping up the Democrats, or you're on Team Democrat, or you're vote blue no matter who. You want to know something? A lot of people ignored what Hitler was saying in the 1920s and early 30s. A lot of people ignored what Mussolini was saying. Okay? A lot of people ignored things in the early 20th century, and we know what happened. So you don't ignore when politicians speak at white nationalist conferences. You don't ignore when literally the top-rated cable news star, Tucker Carlson, you don't ignore when a mass shooter, a white supremacist, goes and kills 10 black people, drives 3 hours to kill 10 black people in Buffalo. You don't ignore when that white supremacist manifesto sounds identical to the top-rated cable news star. Or as Glenn Greenwald writes, loving Substacks as he slobbers over Tucker Carlson and defends him. You don't ignore that and then call yourself a leftist. I'm sick of pretend leftists for like clickbait and headlines. I mean, how many, like Jimmy Dore, for example, he's a leftist, but like how many videos has he done criticizing Marjorie Taylor Greene? 0. When the Buffalo shooting happened, his response wasn't that a fucking white supremacist just went, shot up 10 black people, and oh, his manifesto sounds kind of similar to Tucker Carlson. You can't blame Tucker Carlson directly for the shooting. That's the shooter's fault. But should it be ignored that a violent white supremacist who just killed 10 black people in Buffalo, his manifesto is preaching about the great replacement theory that the New York Times reported Tucker Carlson has talked about 400 times on his show to over 3 million people on a nightly basis? We should just ignore that? No, Jimmy and Glenn Greenwald and all these other fucking pseudo-leftists, I don't know what they are. You know what they did? They literally made it about the Azov battalion in Ukraine and the fact that we are funding neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Why? Because the shooter in Buffalo used the black sun symbol in his manifesto, which the Azov battalion in Ukraine uses. So let's not focus on the fact that literally a violent white supremacist who's ranting about the great replacement theory that the #1 rated Fox News host has been ranting about over 400 fucking times on Fox News, when he rants about invaders coming. They're invading. We're for legacy Americans. This is all shit that Tucker Carlson has said. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on that he had the black sun symbol, which, by the way, is not unique to the neo-Nazis and Azov battalion in Ukraine. Neo-Nazis all over the world use the Azov, the black sun symbol? Because they don't want to criticize Republicans. Why? Because their audience is more and more Republicans. If you look at the rare instance where Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald, any of these people criticize a Republican, look at the comments under the video. Look at the comments under the tweet and see the outcry against them, because their audience is right wing. I'm not calling to deplatform them. I'm not calling to censor them, but I am fucking calling them out, because enough is enough. If you're a leftist, you need to speak up. If you're a leftist, you need to speak up at the insanity of the violent right-wing extremism movement in this country. If you're a leftist, it's not celebrating the FBI. You need to speak up when a lunatic, after Trump's Mar-a-Lago compound is raided because Trump would not comply with a subpoena, goes and shoots up an FBI office. Period. If you're a leftist, you need to speak up when a white supremacist goes and kills a lot of black people in Buffalo and has a manifesto that sounds like he stole it from Tucker Carlson. Because if we don't speak up and we just wink, wink and nod to the right wing and continue having these leftists do headlines, Marjorie Taylor Greene was right. Marjorie Taylor Greene is out-lefting the squad. Oh, that was the best one when Jimmy and all these other people said Marjorie Taylor Greene is out-lefting the squad because she voted against sending more money to Ukraine. All of these people left out the tiny little detail. All these people left out the tiny little detail that Marjorie Taylor Greene, right as Russia invaded Ukraine, invested in Lockheed Martin. So Marjorie Taylor Greene does a song and dance on the House floor against giving more money for weapons to Ukraine, which I don't think we should give any more money to Ukraine. So I kind of agree with her on that. After she just enriched herself through stock with Lockheed Martin, and leftists are cheering on Marjorie Taylor Greene, thinking she actually is principled. I mean, you cannot make it up. You can't make this shit up. Really can't. Let me read some super chats. Raj, $5. Jordan, I'm a socialist, but I don't want to see political opponents arrested unless we get them all. I mean, Bush, Cheney, Clinton's, Manchin. I read this earlier. I agree, but I disagree. I agree with arresting all those people, particularly Bush and Cheney, followed by the Clintons and Manchin. But I'm not going to say don't hold Donald Trump accountable because these other people weren't held accountable. I say hold them all accountable. But like, Donald Trump doesn't get a free pass just because these people have gotten a free pass. Eleanor, $5. Thanks for bringing us real journalism, Jordan and Status Coup crew. Thank you. And thank Colin behind the scenes. He's been doing two long live streams today with me. Raj, $5. No information should be illegal, period. Do you support the U.S. criminalizing Assange and Snowden for mishandling of classified intel and documents? I don't know. What are you talking about? I haven't argued to make anything illegal. I don't know what you're talking about. By the way, this channel and I have covered more pro-Assange and free Assange rallies in New York City and DC than any other outlet in independent media. I've covered a shit ton of free Assange events. So I have always been on record that Julian Assange should be freed. He's a political prisoner. Same with Edward Snowden. So I don't really know what you're talking about because I didn't call for any information to be illegal. Jana, $1.99. Everything you're saying is 100% true. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Veterman, $9.99. Thank you for your report, Jordan. What you do is very important for our democracy. Thank you. I appreciate that. Milena, $5. Thank you so much. Steven Simmons, $5. You're doing good work. Thank you. Clint, new YouTube member. Thank you, Clint. Welcome. S Bears, $10. Right on, Jordan. Why, thank you. Jason, $99.99. Love your content. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. Very generous super chat. I really appreciate it. Tyler, new YouTube member. Thank you, Tyler. John Ramsey, $10. Thank you for covering the strike at John Deere here in Davenport, Iowa. I loved it. Oh, honestly, I feel most alive when I'm covering workers fighting back, worker solidarity, comrades. I covered the strikes in Ottumwa in Iowa. I covered Davenport, 2 other places. It was awesome and fire. So love you guys out there in Iowa. Thank you. Loretta, $9.99. Thank you very much. Steven Simmons, new YouTube member. Thank you. Trudy, $2. Hunter was hired as a lawyer, which he was. I don't know what you're referring to there. Tree, $5. Thank you, Tree. And thank you all for the super chats. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. So we got Joseph, Ken, and Donald signed up as new YouTube members. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Steve, another $5. Thank you for not calling. Oh, Steven, $5. Thank you for not calling me Steve. No problem. And thank you to all the YouTube members who signed up. And thank you to all the viewers. I hope you'll subscribe to Status Coup. Check out our other content. We have great videos up from a Starbucks strike I covered the other day. You're not going to hear from these kind of people on CNN. You're not going to hear from actual workers on CNN, MSNBC, in the New York Times, in the Washington Post. You'll see them. You'll hear them. You will see what's really going on and workers fighting back on this channel. Also, check out our reporting. There's plenty of videos up from the reporting tour we just took in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia. I spoke with people that are literally scavenging for change in their home to find change to fill up their gas tank. I talked to people that are literally weaning themselves off of necessary medication because they cannot afford the doctor to refill the medication. I spoke with people that are literally facing eviction. I interviewed homeless people. We did this over 8 days. We drove 1,500 miles thanks to you and the Status Coup members who support us. So you're not supporting us just for the people who support us financially. You're not supporting us financially just for me to rant on YouTube. You're supporting actual on the ground journalism. So please, please, statuscoup.com/join. Become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. It makes a huge, huge difference. Huge difference. Thank you so much for watching. We will come back tomorrow as new developments come. Have a good night.